Welcome to the Be More You podcast.
We're your hosts, Mon
and Stefan.
And this is a space where we want you to be more like you
and less like everyone else.
Enjoy this episode.
We're rolling? Whoa! So today we have Adam on the podcast. What's going on, man?
You can look wherever you like, Adam. It's your time.
I can't call you Adam, man. It's METWALLY.
Call me whatever you want to call me. I'm just happy to be here.
How are you?
I'm good. I feel like we should swap. I feel like you guys should be here and I'll be here.
Nah, because then when one of us talks, like...
But I can see both of you.
Yeah.
Where would you like to sit?
Sit there.
Really?
You sit here and then I can address both of you.
Alright, we're going to play musical chairs. Swap it up.
Oh, now you're just afraid if Mon goes to hit one of us.
Alright.
Oh, shit.
No, it's
Okay,
okay.
This is not going how I had
No,
planned.
it's going exactly how I expected it to go.
I haven't sat here before. Mind you, I've only sat here twice.
Welcome to Be More You. Today we have Steph.
Oh, I'm going to do this again.
Alright, so today we have Adam, who's come on the Be More You podcast. Welcome to your first ever podcast.
First ever podcast.
Amazing.
What made you say yes to coming on ours?
I mean, I love you guys, so
Aww.
that was pretty much it.
Thank you. Alright, so I'm going to kick it off unless you have a question.
No,
ask him?
you are more than welcome to
okay,
kick it
cool.
off.
Tell us a bit about yourself, Adam.
Oh.
It's the most generic question ever.
So, why did you apply for this job? Well, born and bred, Geelong. 3219 at the moment.
Represent. You got the
that's the
sticker on the
postcode.
back of your car?
I'm a Subaru. Oh, God. Yeah, from Geelong. So, I went to a bunch of different schools, went to Western Heights, and then went to Belmont, and then went to a couple primary schools in the region. I work in events and also part-time in engineering
Yeah.
and DJ a little bit and read
Hang
a
on,
lot.
DJ a lot.
A lot of bit.
Yeah.
Well, not at the moment.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay, that's true.
And now I'm a budding podcast attendee, it seems.
Next week, the Adam METWALLY podcast is going live.
He's like, it's actually 3 days from now. I just need to see how you guys are set up. He's got a tape measure and he's like, what did you use to put it?
Yeah.
So what's something that you're working on at the moment? Because you do a lot. You do a lot. I remember when we first caught up and you started telling me about all this stuff that you've started and done. I was like, does this guy keep a diary? Because what the actual fuck?
So, this is what functional ADHD looks like. Okay, let me preface that. Functional self-diagnosed ADHD. It's not that I can't finish anything. I get bored easily, so I just try a heap of stuff.
Yeah.
And I read a lot, and things interest me, so I just have, I just love to give things a crack.
Have you always been like that? Like even as a kid?
I don't know. Not that I can think about. Like, no, this is a new thing that's developed as I've finished uni. Like, I was pretty, like, one-track mind. I didn't read. I didn't do any of that sort of stuff. And then I finished uni, and I was like... So I did civil engineering and commerce at uni. And it was like... Going to uni was analogous to... You know when you're in those, like, horror movies where they're, like, people are just, like, running in, like, a really tall... like cornfield, and they're just like running, and they're like, "Fuck!" I don't know. Wait, can we swear?
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want.
Or they're like, "Fuck!" Like you know those. They don't know what's going on. They're like super anxious. They're like stressed. They're just going for it, and then they get to the end of the cornfield, and they like reach a clear road, and they're like, "Where do I go from here?" That was how I felt.
Yeah.
And then that's when like my attempt to sort my life out and figure out what I actually wanted and who I would be began to develop.
Yeah.
So, in that process, I started reading a lot, and I happened to fall into working in events. Like, it wasn't planned.
Yeah.
And I was like, this kind of works. Like, it's the engineering brain with some art element. It's like a nice combination of it. So I just kept going with it.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, long answer to a short question, what I'm working on at the moment, I'd love to be able to keep doing events, and I'd love to grow the events company as that progresses. How that plays out is unclear. There's been a lot of like soul searching over the last couple of years, and I don't have anything else that kind of comes out to me as something I'd want to pursue.
Yeah.
So I guess that means that I'm probably on the right path.
Yeah.
Just gotta keep trucking on, right?
Keep going.
Yeah, I've had the same thing with me like the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I fucking 2 weeks ago maybe it was 3 weeks ago with Ariel, and I started playing my guitar and singing all these songs that I wrote last year. I wrote a whole fucking album, and because I had been constantly pursuing music in a way that felt really unhealthy to me, and I was just identifying myself with this thing, I was like, you're not allowed to record until you fucking work this out for real.
Have you worked it out?
Yeah, I have. Well, no, I've just pulled the curtain back on all of my fears and all of my insecurities, and I just peaked. Last week, I peaked. So my jaw, I don't know if you can see. I don't know if you guys can see. It's a
jaw of the gods.
No. That's not where I was going, but thanks, man. No, my jaw locked like a week and a half ago, so I could only open it like to there.
What were you doing?
PG, please.
But it was just a build up of all this shit it was a fully emotional build up of all this shit that was happening. But it locked, and it was really ironic because that same week I went, I'm fucking recording this album, I'm doing all this stuff. And then the reason I'm saying this is because I can resonate with exactly what you just said, being like, hang on, is there something else, or am I just like in a funk and maybe afraid? Maybe I'm more afraid than I'm actually capable of admitting to myself right now without working through all the other shit that's piled on top of it.
So where did you lead from this point to get to
This
that point
really
to
is
get to
his
this
podcast. Holy shit.
So hang on, let me just grab the mic a little bit closer so everybody can hear me. So what do you mean? Where did I lead to get to that
where
point?
were you, and then what got you to this point now? Where you're like, I've just peeled back, and like, I mean, do you want to talk about it?
Oh fuck, a lot, to be honest. We'd be sitting here for 3 hours. No.
That's right. There's no YouTube.
Where do I start? I wasn't planning on. I didn't know you guys were going to be asking me all these questions today.
Oh, I did I? So it's now the Adam and
So do you know what I think it was? It was, I actually said this to you on the phone the other day, I think. I was like, I thought, because I just stopped taking drugs at the start of this year. Well, April, March, whenever it was. Nearly 7 months ago. And I keep having these realizations where I'm like, oh, that's what I was suppressing. Oh, that's what I was suppressing. And the other day I was like, oh. I was like, I had no idea how lowly I value myself. And I had no idea how terrified I am of failing and how much I imprint my own value on these external things that I pursue. Like whether it be teaching or whether it be creating music or whether it be exercising and my physical, the way that I look or whatever it be. I was like, I felt like a week ago, I was like, I feel like I'm 14 again playing in that band for the first time since then. Yeah. And I was like, I think from there until now, I think I've just had the ability over the last 6 months through seeing Andrew, kinesiologist we've been both seeing, who's been fucking digging real deep and twisting. And my other kinesiologists I see, and then through just the open and honest conversations I'm able to have with all the people around me, I just got to the point where last week I was just like, I can see it now. Yeah. And I'm like, would never have been able to see it up until this point. But I was like, cool. I have no fucking idea what to do next. None. I don't. Right? What's the next? And it's like, I know there's a few avenues that I can go down. I'm seeing Andrew again in a few weeks. I think I'm going to call Stacey, just go to all my professional help. Because it's really important. Yeah. And then just like, I've just made a point of every day, I wouldn't pick up my guitar. I was just too afraid to. For so long, I wouldn't sing. It used to hurt to sing, you know? And I was like, I'm just that afraid of fucking failing and letting myself down. I had no idea I thought it was just like a funk thing, like you said, like, or just like, oh, I'm just not feeling it today. It's like, no, you were scared of not succeeding through the things that you want. So I've just recently just been like, all right, do this because I've realized that I function really well within. I need to set parameters for myself, like boundaries for myself.
I think we all do.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. And then I'm constantly slipping in and out of being like, oh, but I just want to do whatever I want to do. Being like, I'm lost now.
Yeah.
So just putting those strict guidelines in place, and I'm finding lots of freedom within them. So that's what I'm trying to do now. And then I'll let you know when you have me on the podcast next. We can speak into it a little bit further.
I love it. I feel like have you guys heard of the book The War of Art?
Yes.
Have you guys read it?
Yes.
Yeah.
A very long time ago.
Pretty much just like that. Like resistance rearing its ugly head in different forms.
I've got that in there. I should fucking read that. Yeah, sorry, keep going.
That's fine. No. The core of it is like to do artistic work, which is it's hard, and like I feel like with what you're saying, you need to set those strict parameters because it's such a chaotic kind of world to be like in a creative space. Yeah. And if you don't set those parameters, you go down the rabbit holes. Like and you might not come out for ages.
Of course.
And you can't. The only way out of it is generally forcing yourself out of it.
100%.
Either through like consistency or just be like, I'm going to do this. I know this is going to suck, but it's like you have to wade through the mud to get to what you've got.
Yeah.
For sure.
So it sounds like you're just wading through the mud at the moment.
Yeah, I am.
But it's part of the process.
Absolutely. Yeah. I knew so many musicians, or met a lot of musicians in Melbourne that had the kind of, just everywhere that have the, I just want to, it'll come to me when it comes.
Bullshit.
Smoke weed and I'll just get creative and do this and do that. And it's like, they still have gotten nowhere.
Yeah, no.
It's fucked because you're like, no, you can't just do that. You've got to be relentless. I fucking love that line. Relentless in that pursuit. I just stop saying that. Maybe we can put on a t-shirt.
Welcome to Adam's podcast, Relentless.
The Relentless Pursuit of Adam. Oh, that's a really good name. I'll help you build the studio if you want to.
You have enough things to do.
Can I sublease this one?
I'll let you know my rates, yeah. Right. I've actually got a green thing that just comes down and fades over the floor, and that will
I'm a
quickly
blue
go up.
kind of guy. So.
Yeah, blue?
Yeah.
I can work that out. Yeah, that's
blue,
fine. So what did you like, because you were just saying the soul searching to work out if the event space was the thing.
Explain the event space for like people who are listening, because we keep saying event space, but people who don't know you are probably like,
what does this guy do?
Weddings? Or like, what's this guy do?
Predominantly just bar mitzvahs and weddings.
Yeah, so I am Region of Victoria's #1 wedding.
I'm gonna laugh so hard if people start emailing you. Hey, that wedding planner.
I'd do weddings. If someone was like, "Oh, I want a sick wedding," I'd be like, "Yeah, sweet. I don't know what to charge you, but like,
I'll make you a fucking
I'll
sick
make you
wedding.
a great wedding."
Yeah.
So if anyone's planning to get married, there you go.
And I can DJ it.
There you go. 2-for-1 package.
This might be the next thing.
What can't he do?
Humble. Anyway, so the event space that you like kickstarted, when did all that start? Like what age?
So it's been a fun, like, you know how things just randomly develop? And you look back and you're like, how the hell did that happen? It's one of those. So I was, like, I've always been quite social. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Right, nice.
I'm just checking on that.
We both did. You turned your head. I was like, what? Sorry.
Now I remember why you sit there, because you have to go and put pause. I don't know. Continue.
So I can do it.
May as well learn. You're going to be in here next week.
People, we're really sorry. We're getting sidetracked with all of this. Anyway, the event space.
All right. So I had a lot of like friend groups. You know, went to lots of different schools. Was always quite social. Never quite. You know how people either lock into a friendship group and they've got their like team and that's it. I was never one of those. I've always been like a bit of an outsider, but like inside, it's like a weird dynamic. So I'm always there, but I'm not there.
Yeah.
And I've like that allowed me to kind of like be friends with everybody.
Yeah.
And then that led to, I was working at the Sporting Globe as a bartender when I was like 18, and then this promoter from Melbourne wanted to run some events, and then they did something upstairs, and they were looking for people to sell tickets. I was like, yeah, I'll sell some tickets. Like, I don't know. And then I sold like 100, and they were like, who the hell's this kid? So just because I was like, hey. So that led to then me getting in touch with like all the major festivals, like back in the day, like Future and Stereosonic and stuff, and then building out teams of promoter networks. And between my friend Luke and I, we, for Stereo 1 year, sold like 1,200 tickets.
Wow.
Yeah, it became a thing. I was like, all right, cool. And then a venue opened, a club opened, and they were looking for promoters. I'm like, I'll give this a go. So I went there, and then same thing happened. Like, we had, you know, there's this running joke. It's like METWALLY's guest list. Yeah. And that's been a thing since, well, I'm 29 now, and I started this probably about 20.
Yeah.
So, like, it's been, like, the running joke that, like, friends of mine would just go to, like, they'd be in Japan and be like, oh, yeah, I'm just on METWALLY's. And then they send me videos. Like, where doesn't it work, kind of, at the supermarket. I don't know, like, you know, so... Yeah, so I had that, and then I had these funny as, like, I found it. I printed out posters to put around Geelong, and it was like, the club was called Toast.
I remember
Toast. Oh my
Toast.
God.
Yeah, that's
Holy
when it all began. And it was like, are you bored of Geelong's monotonous nightlife? And it's like me painting paint. And it's like, you know, here's the best thing since sliced bread. Use Adam's guest list or Metwall's guest list for, you know, $5 off entry, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this is hilarious. Anyway, long story short, I'm 20 years old. I'm working at Sporting Globe for like $13 an hour. And then I start promoting at this club, getting $3 a head and doing like 120 to 150 people every Saturday night. And I'm like, I've struck gold. Like, this is great. Yeah, and it just like, and then the venue realized that I was making too much money.
Right.
So they cut it, and they were like, we're firing all the promoters, but we're going to keep you on. We're going to pay you a hosting retainer to come and hang out. I was like, cool, all right. I'm 20 years old. I'm getting paid to go to a venue and get drinks. Like,
what more do you want?
You know, it's amazing. So yeah, I did that, and then I've always been very, you know, like I did okay at school. I was in engineering, so I'm like, my brain's ticking. It's always been ticking. And I just observed how they ran everything, developed their marketing, asked a lot of questions. Like, for example, we were at the venues, we were at their Christmas party, and I'm talking to the owner as we're like all drunk walking down, you know, I think it was from the Nash or something. And I'm like, hey, so how do you work out like cost of goods for like, you know, like, oh, okay, so what's your profit margin that you want to normally tackle on a drink? And like, and then I'm like, have you ever spoken to a promoter that asks these questions? And he's like, not really, no. I'm like, okay. So that was kind of where I was at. So I don't drink like I will dabble, but I don't really. It's not like a habitual thing.
Yeah.
So 95% of the time I'm sober. 95% of the time I'm just observing.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so that led to, you know, I developed a pretty strong relationship with them. I kind of got a feel of a lot of things, and then they offered for me to run an event. So I ran an event with a friend of mine, Luke Jontu, and we started a little event company called Me Too Entertainment. That was like the first one. And the only reason, I shouldn't say the only reason, but the main reason why I like got a partner was going back to probably what you were saying, I was scared shitless. Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to fail miserably, and I need someone else to fail with me. Like, in no part of my head
I can relate to that so much, because the two businesses that I had, same thing. I felt like I had to have someone there, and that person, I always felt like I was the creative engine, just like pulling them along. But it was...
This comes up a lot right now, by the way.
He's the third business. It's the third one. He's the third one.
Do you want to talk about this a bit more? Where's this coming from?
No, we talk about it a
We
lot.
talk about it a lot. Don't worry.
Maybe the people need to
We'll
hear.
talk about it on another podcast.
Oh, okay.
No, but that was the same deal. That underlying fear of like, I need to have someone basically tell me that I can do this. And that person has to be in my ear 24/7 being like, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. But all it did was drag
You
me
gotta
down.
be that person.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So I can completely understand and relate to that.
And man, that took me like 6 years to work through. So 6 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Expensive lesson.
But I don't know, you know, how do you know until you to go through
Exactly.
it?
You don't.
So, but look, you know, to be fair, I spent quite a number of years working with really, really good friends, and like, there's something to be said about having someone to bounce ideas off.
Yeah.
And you can get in your own like little echo chamber and go down pathways that are completely whack, and like you just don't know because no one's there to check you.
Yeah.
See, that's where you come in.
Yeah, that's
And
what
so you're-
See, I am valuable.
You are back. Look at that shit. Look at that jaw. Then we're going to take a quick ad break. Here are the sponsors.
Are you sick and tired?
Are you going bald?
Alright, back to the podcast. What we're talking about.
Yeah, so,
My face is so sore from laughing.
Oh yeah, we finished on your jaw. That's right.
yeah.
Yeah. Did we finish on my jaw?
Yeah, your godlike jaw.
Yeah, yeah,
And then we went to an ad break.
yeah. All right. This
Back
is going to
to-
be just like, you're going to have to edit out most of this.
He's gonna have to
There's going to be like 5
I'm
minutes.
going to leave it all in.
There's going to be 5 minutes of conversation and just like 45 minutes of laughter.
My head hurts.
From the same one dumb joke at the beginning.
That's the power
That's
of a
what
good
happened.
joke, right?
Yeah, it's really good.
Speaking of jokes, I had a moment where I wanted to become a comedian.
When? That scares the fucking hell out of me, comedy.
Yeah, I know.
I'm so like, oh,
We
I
should do a
love.
stand-up comedy night one.
I mean, I haven't done it
As
yet.
part of
should.
next year.
Oh, how?
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
Yeah, when?
I mean,
Just invite yourself. Yeah, you can come too.
I mean, my life's a joke, so...
I actually think you'd be really good at
You'd
comedy.
be great. What are you
Yeah.
talking
I
about?
don't know, maybe.
I reckon you
Let's
should
do it. All right.
Comedian, rapper,
Podcaster.
Oh,
podcast.
have you watched
Philanthropist.
Inside? What's Bo Burnham?
No.
Oh my god, he does musical comedy, but he recorded this special last year.
Yeah, during.
He was locked in his apartment in New York. It's like this box. You watch it tonight. I'll
It's so
message you.
good.
I've
Yeah,
been
send it
telling
to me.
everyone to watch
Send
it.
it to me. We should get it up on the screen, you know, like Joe Rogan does.
How do I do that? Jamie.
Hey.
Get Ariel to come out here.
Yeah, I'm
Ariel, fuck off, Steph.
Dream big, dream big.
Yeah.
So yeah, where was I? Anyway, so I started like, you know, running these parties, and then the first event I made like good money. I was like, ooh, this is interesting. I was like 20, so I've still got. By the way, I've still got 9 years of this story to go.
Like I'm still 20.
So weird. Keep going.
Yeah. So and then I started. So we ran a couple more parties, and then the venue started dropping off, and they were like, "Oh, do you want to run your own like weekly thing?" And then we did, and it flopped like hard. We ran like 4 of them, and it was complete like no chance. We just got flogged. And then I kind of took a step back. I started DJing a little bit, didn't really do too much. And then Luke and I started a Sunday session called Sunday with an E. It's like a little ice cream Sunday thing. Game breaking. Branding, right? So we did that, and then, you know, the first party did 100 people. And then we had to stop again for another 18 months. The venue got sold. So, and then I went back and I was like, hey, new owners, let's do this again. I did a few of these events and it looked like promising. That took off. We did like this crazy summer series that like people still talk about today. And then another venue closed, like Fake Chow closed.
Yes.
And they were like, for those that are international, these are just random venues that...
Geelong's a small place.
Geelong's a small place, you know.
Yeah.
I thought we should preface that.
Yeah.
Someone in Switzerland listening, like,
Yeah,
what is a Fake Chow?
Yeah, anyway, these various venues. So the point being is then a venue closed that was doing major Saturday night things. The guy who was running that and another guy and Luke all kind of were talking, and they were like, we want to do this on a Saturday night. And I'm like, there's no chance in hell you're doing that if I'm not involved. So, I got involved. And then that started Uno.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we ran that for about 3 years. Like, did really, really well. And then off the back of that, actually funny, this is actually a really funny story. So, Coastal Jam?
Yes.
So Coastal Jam is now my main thing. I couldn't have believed where it's gone and where it's going and what's happened. Probably a bit of that like imposter thing. It's like, do people realize it's just...
Yeah.
What? We sold out in 6 minutes? Why? What is wrong with you guys? But like that's the shit that goes through my head. But there was a really good lesson that I learned around this time where the things that you could never expect to come to fruition down the track come to fruition. Mm-hmm. So I butchered that. Let me start it again. Like chance meets, random acts of kindness, unrelated things that you would never ever expect. Mm-hmm. They all come full circle at some point. And it's kind of led me to act in every single scenario that I'm in with as much integrity as possible, because you never know where it goes from there.
Yeah.
The guy who was like the ticketing lead, the main ticketing manager for one of the big festivals that we're doing all the ticketing stuff for, long after Luke had said, I can't be bothered selling tickets, I kept going. I'm like, I'm going to keep doing this. I feel like there might be something here. In 2017 or something, that guy calls me up. I haven't spoken to him in like 4 years. He's like, hey, I've been offered the Lawn Hotel, another venue, beautiful venue on the beach, like really nice. He's like, I've been offered this venue. You're the dude down there. Do you want to partner up with me? I hadn't spoken to this guy in 4 years. Mm-hmm. And the only way he knew me was because I sold tickets for the festival that he was managing. Yeah. So we'd spoken once in my life. Once. Yep. Then we went to Lawn, we had this meeting. That started Coastal Jam. Yeah. Off the back of that. I would never have gotten... A, I would never have had the balls to do it by myself. B, I would never have got a marquee hotel that just got sold for $40 million to care about running an event with a kid like me. I was like 24. Like, I didn't know what was going on. He had the clout. He was doing stuff at Portsea Hotel. They knew him from Portsea. They got the intro. He brought me in. And then I took it and ran with it. Mm-hmm. And first year we didn't do that very well. We lost a bit of money. I left it up to him because it was his show. And I was just there. Second year, I'm like, look, you just sit back. You don't have to do anything. Leave it with me. So I booked the lineup. I did all the marketing. And we sold the whole thing out.
Wow.
And he was just like, oh, shit.
How many people sell out? What was that?
1,100 tickets.
Wow.
And that was probably like one of the biggest shows I've done to date.
Yeah.
Well, that was then. So we sold out like well in advance to the event. And we had like Marabou State headline, which was like, Marabou State's really cool. Like it's a really cool like electronic act. And then that grew into like doing other dates in other venues, and then now we do like a 6-7 date run, and we're looking to expand into like greenfield sites to do 10,000 tickets, and
Sick.
We're looking at interstate, and it's just become this whole thing. Like there's conversations with major festival promoters that want to be a part of it. And I'm like, I'm just like, that dog meme when they're like on the computer? That's how I feel. I'm like, okay. Cool.
But that's the best part, because like, I almost feel like that's relatable, like just as a person, but you're just you. Like, people invest in you before they invest in the person that sells the tickets. Like, yes, that's an added bonus that you're going to sell out all these venues and stuff. But, you know, that guy that you hadn't spoken to in 4 years, like, he took a chance on you. Not like the big thing you were doing. It was like, nah, you're the guy. Like, you're the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty much that story. And then things have offshoot from there.
Yeah.
Uno as a venue closed, and then I got offered to work with the guys at Bloom, so I've been with there since 2018. Coastal Jam's grown like crazy. We did a festival in the car park of Bowen Heads Hotel and did over 2,000 people there. And yeah, ran a thing with another friend of mine in Thailand called Sundancer. So, which is pretty much, we flew over just before lockdown actually. In 2020, we flew over about 30 of us, like all flights, accom transfers, all paid for, like one price ticket, and we ran a bunch of parties on PP Island, and just like, we had like a little tour group. It was just me and this guy, like, bringing all these people from Australia to Thailand. And it's like, fuck. Which was really cool. So, and that, yeah, so over time, I've kind of, you know, developed portfolio of different events that target different things, hoping to expand and grow and like really focus on like the regional, like coastal Victoria, because the main ethos of this whole thing was, you know, there was nothing really good going on. Like everything was pretty shit.
Yep.
And I kind of was like, well, okay, I'll do it myself because nothing cool's happening. And now that the events and hospitality market in Geelong has gone crazy.
It's
It's
incredible.
so good now.
Yeah.
Like the kids now have so much good shit to do.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that.
No.
You know? So it's been really cool to see, even on a very small level, just like definitive actions that I've taken that have like fundamentally shifted a region.
That's 100% what I was gonna, like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, you don't actually realize how much you've done. For like, no, young people in Geelong though, like, you were the benchmark just by going, fuck it, I'll do it. Like, nothing's happening, I'll put my hand up.
Yeah.
And
we
then
had
running
nothing.
with it. Yeah.
We had nothing when we were kids.
Yeah.
And all of my experiences with the places that were around were always really negative.
Yeah.
Because those environments, especially in Geelong,
No one
Geelong
cared.
was just fucking riddled. Everyone was just high as a kite. And just sort of like, well, everybody, I don't know if everybody was.
I mean, no, they still are. But I just think it's slightly better drugs.
Yeah, probably. But like, yeah, it was always, I never had a good experience when I was out anywhere because everywhere just felt really dingy, felt really icky. You know what I mean? I wasn't, by the time that you guys had started doing stuff, I was like, I'm never going to a fucking club again. So I just didn't enjoy that space down here. Sounds like I should have sat at home for a few years.
No, that's all right. There's still time.
I don't know if there is.
So you did all that. Where are you at now in terms of, like, obviously the event space with everything, which we're not going to talk about and name because everybody's fucking over
It
it.
shall not be named.
But that obviously takes a massive blow.
Dad, just to give some context, that's our safe word. We need to quickly get out of here. So do you want to go now or do you want to wait?
Do you want to finish this or nah? But yeah, like, what does that look like now for you in terms of like event spaces, the stuff that you were planning on doing, or is it just you're kind of staying your ground and like that's the response?
Can I add to this as well? Because when I first moved down and we started hanging out a bunch more, because we'd known each other for years, but we never really hung out.
I just
ever.
thought you were the coolest dude I've ever seen in my life. But like we'd never spoken.
We never
really.
hung out or spoke to each other.
Yeah.
And then when I moved back down to Geelong, we were just jumping in ice baths together.
Yeah.
Like, let's go hang.
Culture.
But I remember something that you said to me was like, long term, you're like, I want to be doing events, but like, how do I do this for the next 20 years? Like,
Yeah.
that was the question that
I've answered that question.
you answered it here already.
I know. No.
Oh, no.
I have answered that question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna be like that cool dad.
Yes.
I just accept my role in the world. It's all good. Be like, oh, Dad met Flume. Actually, this is a funny story. Should I? Okay, so
Tell the funny story.
all right. So I've been a huge fan of Flume since I was like, probably 18, younger. And I've always wanted to, meet him. And I was like, I ended up working for Listen Out last year prior to lockdown. For those playing at home, Listen Out's like a huge festival in Australia. And I somehow got the role of I was basically like the artist liaison.
I think I was watching this on your stories.
So there was an artist compound, and okay, let's go back a step. For so long, I was in my regional Victorian bubble. I was like, I don't give a shit about what's going on. My ego is way too big. I don't care about I don't care about working for anybody else. I'll do my own thing. And then I realized that I'm getting nowhere because I don't have the support network. And to develop the support network, I need to either work for free or just be in the rooms with the people who are way better than me at what they do.
Yeah.
So that led me to start seeing how I can work with like all the other bigger festivals, as opposed to just going there and partying, going like, cool, all right, I'm here, I've got some skills, I'd love to be of service. And that, in just like 2 or 3 discrete events, has made significant changes. Like now I'm in a position just of helping where I can call the directors of some of the biggest festivals in Australia and go, hey, what do you think of this? And they'll give me the time of day.
Yeah.
Before that, they didn't know who I was. And they never would have, which has been really cool. So the key lesson that I took from that was just like, you don't have to like put your ego aside and serve others.
Yeah.
It's hopefully serve others that are way better than you and find out what they want and how you can make their life a little bit easier. And who knows where that leads. So anyway, back to the fun story. I'm artist liaison for the day. So I'm meeting like all of the artists and they have big lineups. Like it was like Doja Cat was on there. Flume was on there. Who else was there? I don't know. Black and Denzel Curry. Like it was a big lineup. And I'm just like meeting them all and like, hey, here's your room. I had some banter with Doja Cat and her crew. I'm like, this is great. Anyway, I said to myself like prior to, I'm like, all I want, like the dream here, and this is some elaborate plot to get a photo with Flume. I'm like, but it's probably not going to happen. Like I got to maintain professionalism. Like I can't be like the directors there's like 4 directors at the festival. And I'm like my boss, which is a guy under him. They're all there. And I asked him like, what's the kind of vibe on like fanboying? And he's like, don't do it. Like, okay. Okay. Anyway, end of the event, everyone's kind of gone. Like everything's pretty settled. There's like 1 or 2 slots to go. It's like dark. The whole artist compound's pretty much empty. I got my little lanyard on and my little headpiece, and I'm just walking in the back area, and these 2 guys are standing there, and they're just like, hey. I'm like, hey. I'm like, oh shit, that's Flume. and then I was like, fuck, do I go back? I'm like 20 meters away at this point. I'm like, nah, I can't. Oh, no. Fuck it. And then just walk back and I'm like, look, hey man, I'm a massive fan of you. Can I get a photo? And he's like a little bit awkward about it. He's like, okay. I'm like, cool. So I was just like, thank you. Have a good night. And that is my elaborate plot to get a photo with Flume.
I love it. It's so brilliant. I actually just I just love how you just take these chances and go, literally, fuck it. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? He's going to say, nah, man, like, sorry.
I'm going to get fired and I never get a job.
And that.
You're like, I was very aware.
Well, it's funny, with this stuff, it ties into that whole ice bath thing. It's the exact same feeling that I get standing out the front of the ice bath about to go in. Like, fuck.
Yes.
I don't want to do this. Like, this sucks. Like, that stomach drop, you're like, this is not fun. What is wrong with me? I don't want to do any of this. And then you start forcing yourself in your own on your own terms into those situations, doing things that really suck, but on your own terms and in a safe space. It begins to shift your mind into a space where you're like, oh, okay, I need to make this phone call. There's that feeling. I remember this feeling. It's just another ice bath.
Yeah.
And then you play it through and you're like, what happens every time I get out of the ice bath? I feel better.
Yeah.
I didn't die. So, yeah, I've begun to see the pattern.
Yeah.
And anytime now I feel that feeling, which was, you know, we were doing it for like 8 months straight, every like week. There's only so many kind of emotional kind of responses that you have in your body.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've just begun to go, all right, screw it.
That's the exact same reason why I always do the things that make me really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like when I started the YouTube channel, it was the same thing. Like what things scared the living shit out of me, go and do it. And just notice what arises and what surfaces when you put yourself in those moments. Because as long as you're not going to get yourself killed, just take note of the patterns, the behaviors, the stories that you tell yourself when you're about to go and do something that has terrified you for so long. Because once you come out of it on the other side, you've got that in like a toolbox for the next time you're in a situation where you go, this feels really familiar. Like this, I've been here before. Different scenario, different situation, different obstacle, but that feeling is here. What did I do last time with that feeling? Did it work? Nah. Let's try something else. Yeah. Cool, that worked. Sick, banked that one. Now when I go and do the next thing, same thing happens. It's just the feeling that surfaces. But the thing is, and this is where mindfulness comes into play, like you've just got to be consciously aware of it.
Yeah.
That's it. So those ice baths, I say it to every single person like working at wellness studio that does it for the first time. I'm like, if you want to take anything from this, just notice, all you have to do is just notice what you're about to tell yourself when you're going to like take that first step in. Just do that for this first time.
Even get them to write it down.
Yeah. Just notice what you tell yourself, because I can fucking put any money on it and guarantee it. It's the first thing you tell yourself when you're in a situation that makes you really uncomfortable.
Yeah, fully.
Yeah, this podcast has been making me really uncomfortable. Not this one with you. Like, just, I'm fucking so scared of this, hey.
What are you afraid of?
Just, I don't know, like saying something dumb, like I say dumb shit all the time, but like, it's really outside of my comfort zone. For such a long time, I was like, just the whole self-worth thing and just being like, who would fucking care, you know? And who are you to say anything, you know? It just makes me really...
Do you find that that's... Sorry, so
okay.
I know you cut me off all the time. Why am I saying sorry to you? No.
Be the change you want to see in the world. You're like, don't come. I can come up. You're like, actually, no, let him finish because you want to be the... you want him to let you finish.
Oh, I get you. Yes. No, but I was... you were just sitting there.
The look on your face after you said, you're like, be the change you want to see in the world. What?
I don't know. It's my first day living alone.
I love it.
It's still good.
I was going to say, back to the serious thing, is that because you also feel like you were silenced for so long, or like nobody was really listening to you, that now that you have something to say, it's like, who would listen?
Yeah,
for so long.
Yeah, that communication thing, definitely. It's hitting that. I think that's why my jaw fucking locked up.
Yeah.
So many things all at once. And even going back to teaching in studios this week, I barely slept Sunday night.
Really?
So I do this thing. I don't know if anybody else goes through this because I'm yet to meet somebody. I sweat. Like, if I'm going to bed and I'm really anxious about something, I fucking sweat, like, all night. Like, it's disgusting. I wake up and I'm like, oh, what? Like, I woke up wet on Monday morning. And I was like, this week we've got, like, you today. We've seen Speaking to Jess tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's back to my podcast now. Step tomorrow. But I think it's, like, hitting that thing. Like, I never felt like my biggest thing in my life has been, like, not expressing myself.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I ever, or not being heard, or communication lines being broken.
Yeah.
And somebody misunderstanding me. So I think this is just hitting all of those things at once.
When I started the Finally Found podcast last year, one of the biggest reasons why I didn't start it, it's not like he's going to listen to this podcast, so I can say it. But it was like, and it was one thing that I'd held on to for such a long time. But my ex once said to me, and I hung on to it forever because I was like, yeah, that's so true. He said to me, like, who are these motherfuckers who just like think they can go start a YouTube channel and a podcast when they haven't even done anything with their lives? And I was like, oh, yeah. Mind you, that whole time we were together, all I ever wanted to do was like a YouTube channel and like express myself the way I'd always had when I was younger, through video, through photos, through, you know, that creative outlet.
Through dance.
Wasn't a dancer. No, I was not a dancer.
That's also where I come in.
But
I'm not a very good dancer.
last year, when I wanted to start the podcast, I was like, why are you so afraid to start this podcast? Like, you're doing it yourself, you'll be fine. Like, you already started this channel, like, you'll be sweet. What is, like, the thing that's holding you back with this podcast? And I was just, like, sitting there one day, and the voice just popped into my head, and I was like, that motherfucker.
Yeah.
It was so, like...
It was literally...
down so many layers.
And then as soon as it, like, hit me, I was like... fucking start it. I started it the next day. I was like,
Love
you
that.
are not, thank you. Appreciate that.
Love that.
But yeah, that had been like this invisible rope that was holding me back for years, not just like a few months of me being consciously aware of it. That was like 4 years. Because everyone goes to me, why didn't you start it sooner? Like, you were doing this stuff and you just never pursued it. I was like, because one person said something to me, and that's the thing I clung on to, because it validated every other belief that I had of myself growing up. And it was somebody that I really cared about, that was meant to like love me for me, and they said that.
So, what you just said then
Yeah.
is that's what I had last week. When I said that veil got peeled back a little bit, it was like that moment that you said, you're like, oh, that's why I'm not doing it. I was like, oh, that's why I fucking try and sidestep everything in my life. Like, and what I said to you on that, it made me realize drug use on another level, because I'm like, oh, for the last 15 years, I've just been putting out these little spot fires. I'm like, oh, I'm afraid of this. I'll just smoke a little bit more weed. Or I'll just party a little bit harder. And then it flattens it out enough to I'll just step over that now.
Yeah.
That's okay. I can do this. It's like, no, you're not actually working through or stepping past anything.
Yeah.
You're numbing everything so you can just blindly close your eyes and jump in.
You know what I've noticed? Not on the intensity level of, you know, an addiction. Well, actually, they're all addictions. But whenever I read, like, say, an uncomfortable email, or like I'm doing some work and I get to a point where it's like, oh, I need some critical thought here. I reach my phone every single time, and I'm like, oh, this is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
This is uncomfortable. And like, I've got nothing going on. Like, no one's talking to me ever. No, but you know, I've reached for my phone, and I've started to see it. And it happens every single time there's an uncomfortable kind of element. And I've now noticed everybody does it.
Yes.
Everybody does it. The moment there's like, you know, the moment someone's in an awkward position, phone. The moment, like, and so when I'm having conversations with people now, like if I go out for dinner with somebody, I've kind of got this rule of like, phone is face down or gone.
Yes.
Or gone. Because I've noticed the times that I've done that, you have to sit with the uncomfortable. Like, if the conversations go so much deeper, because it's like, you're having this conversation, it gets a little bit deep, they check their phone, you go up. And then it goes a little bit, check their phone, you go up.
Yeah. But
like, the last time I did it, we like had a 3-4 hour dinner, and it was like, we're going in, you're like, oh shit, like, oh shit, and like, we got way deeper and like way more genuine in our conversation, because we made an agreement to not look at our phones. And I just wonder, like, what that does to like us as a generation and our ability to communicate. It's got to be fucking us up. That's my story.
So, you know how you were doing... So, I noticed... It's funny you say that. I actually noticed that today, because... So, part of the structure that I've set for myself recently, I did it's one giant mind Vedic meditation course like 3 years ago. It's you meditate 22 minutes twice a day. I'm bringing this up because of the 60 minutes meditation you were doing for that time period. And I was like, yeah, I'm watching, keep doing it. You're like, I don't think...
You know what? Did I tell you about how I stopped doing the recordings of it?
Yes, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, oh, no, but hang on.
Awkward.
That wasn't about... Pomegranate. No, but hang on. I'll just... Yes, you did. But... So what I noticed today is, but doing that meditation, doing it twice a day, I haven't picked up... So I started it like 2 weeks ago. I was like... Because every morning I have rules where I'm like, meditate, breathe, cold shower. It's like, just do that regardless. I've changed that to just meditate and read and do both things for a longer period of time. And it's 22 minutes of a mantra-based meditation twice a day. And I look back 3 years ago when I was doing it. Did I say that a couple of times?
No.
Like 3 years ago when I was doing it, I noticed everything in my life felt smoother and I was changing. It's like one of those things where it's weird because teaching meditation and telling people about it's like, oh, just do as much as you feel comfortable with, which I 100% agree with. 5 minutes is better than none. But if you go over that fucking threshold and actually do a lot, your whole day dramatically changes. And I noticed everything changes. Yeah. But I noticed that I'm like, I haven't picked up my phone because I felt uncomfortable. I had a really uncomfortable phone call yesterday and I noticed myself do it afterwards. And I was like, But I was going to say, did you notice that in your... What changes did you notice? Because you did an hour a morning for
60 days.
60 days. What were the biggest changes that you noticed in that?
I'm not going to lie, I may have fallen asleep a little bit.
I love the transparency.
I'm not going to lie. I tried not to, but I'd just be in there and I'd be like... and I'm like, this is not productive. I'm just going to meditate lying down. And like that, whenever I did that, I was gone. But like most of the time, like it's been a little while now. So I think I've integrated some of it and lost some of it.
Yeah.
So I can't actually answer your question like super clearly.
Yeah.
But I noticed like just a general sense of much more calm and acceptance. Like it got to a point because like 10 minutes a day or whatever, which is what I try to do most days. Because I'm the same. I've got like this pretty lengthy morning routine that I, ebb in and out of depending on my motivation levels. But every time I do meditate in the morning, I'm like, life is easier.
Yes.
It's so strange. And we're, talking about it before the podcast about like, there's very simple things that you can do to completely change your physiology. For the better. And we get so caught up in just bullshit and noise and our phones and notifications and the news and all this stuff that's like barraging down our throat, and it affects us on a level that we don't actually, like most people don't actually grasp. So the more of this stuff you do, the more you see it, the more you can create. Like you can still do all these things, like it's fine, but do it with a bit more purpose.
Yeah.
And you're like, cool, I want to have my dopamine hit by watching the news for a little while. I know what it's going to do to me.
Yeah. You make a choice.
But I'm still going to do it.
Yeah.
Still probably not the most ideal scenario. There's a fun little story that I think of, and it's like, there's this guy walking down the street and there was a big pothole. First time he fell straight into it. That's like the being completely blind kind of to everything. And then the second time, the guy's walking down the street, he sees the pothole this time, still falls in and gets out a little bit faster. That's like when you've begun to develop like meditation practices. Third time, walks down the street, sees a pothole, walks around it, keeps going through their day. That's like when you've got to the next stage and then, going through stuff that we're going through. Stage 4 is like, guy just took another street. And I think, I'm like riffing here, but I think that analogy is probably like dropping the ego of something, and like you don't need to respond to some things. You don't need, like, you feel that and you don't need to say things. Sometimes just you don't need to go do that thing.
We had a conversation about like replying to comments on like social and YouTube and stuff, and I always like firm boundaries got put up for me because I was like, these people are supporting me from the get-go. I owe them this. I owe them my time to sit there and reply to every message. And not just a thanks with a thumbs up. It was like, no, like they've taken the time to sit there and write me this lengthy message. I need to do the same.
Yeah.
And I did that. And that's how I really grew this like supportive community globally, like all over the world. And they support everything I do. Then it got to a point where it was like, I can't manage this because I'm finding myself on my phone 6 hours a day replying to people. I'm grateful. I'm so humbled and grateful that these people take the time to sit there. But then it eats at me. And I know that I have a very, very, very small, like, emotional bandwidth and energy bandwidth a day. Like, people have this, I got like this. And so becoming aware of that, where I was like, I can't keep doing this. So then when we were talking about it the other day, I said to him, I'm like, I only reply on Mondays to people.
Yeah, and that's okay.
And that's okay because that works for me. And now people that follow me like religiously, they know they'll get a reply on Monday.
Yeah.
I show up on Monday,
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yeah.
And that's where that consistency thing comes in. Like, you know what you're going to get with me. There's no bullshit. There's no, you know, I'm not fucking you around. It's like, I'm just doing this for me. Like, I need this for me. I'm going to go do it.
Yeah. No.
And the thing is, last thing, no one, like, doesn't respect that.
No one cares.
No one gives a fuck. Everybody is
Fucking
too busy with their own lives and
Yeah.
stressing about their own shit. No one fucking cares if you reply to a comment or not.
Yeah.
But it's the stories that we tell ourselves in our heads because it always comes back down to that people-pleasing thing, which if you want to go far enough, back enough, it all just comes down to survival. We need to be liked in order to survive.
Yeah.
But nowadays, kids only see that as likes, comments, fucking shares, tags, and all that. It's like, no, you're missing the whole point.
Yeah, but it's very hard to read the label while you're in the jar.
Yeah, 100%.
I stole that.
Damn, that's really good.
Pomegranate. I think there's a couple of things I probably want to kind of touch on with what you just said.
Yeah.
The first one being, I think you're definitely on the right track. Appropriateness of like responding to people with the respect that you've got to them, and I think that's what will lead to more success. Like, don't ever stop that. I think it's the fundamental tenet of creating a community.
Yeah.
Is that putting that energy into it, and it's great for the algorithm. So the issue isn't that. The issue is your ability to manage your life and your time while still maintaining that consistent tenet. Now, this is where good business strategy and systems come into place. If you've got a VA...
All right, we'll get a VA.
Get a VA and get that VA to go through every comment,
Yeah.
put it in a spreadsheet, and then they send you an email once a week and go, here's all the comments. What do you want me to write back? You write them all down quickly into this spreadsheet and then get them to post it.
All right, so 100%, I agree with that. And I know within myself there's work to do because I am a fucking control freak with stuff like that. I know that about myself.
What are you afraid of?
I've been doing this whole thing by myself for so long, right? So, like, I've always just taken the control of... No, I was doing it because Mom and I like looked at each other and smiled, and you were like, "What do you guys look like?" And that's the and you're like, "What?"
I freaked out before too. I was like, "What happened?"
You know, well, as a podcast host, I'm just engaging all of the audience and keeping everybody a part of the conversation, even when they're not talking.
I need to watch that back to see what just happened because I don't actually know what just happened. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. That's just always been me. I've always been the person that people look to like do everything. So I've always just done everything, and I know it doesn't serve me in any capacity. I need to like delegate, which VA, yeah. But in my head, I'd be like, she's not gonna do a good enough job. I can do a job. I can do it better.
You can.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
but then it's like, I also fucking can't.
But
Because
then
of
you've got no
everything else.
time.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. No, and trust me, I've gotten so much fucking better compared to what I was like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But still, like, stuff like that, I notice and I go, no, I don't fucking need a VA. But then in my head, I'm like, no, you need something. You need someone to, like, take these little not petty, but, like, these little tasks just away to free up time to focus on the bigger things that are gonna either generate money or, you know, get the word out more. It's just a lot of them.
Yeah. I'm full of little sound bites. And the one that comes to mind is like, go alone, go fast, go together, go far. Can't do everything by yourself.
Nah.
I mean, you can, but you're not going to get you're going to cap out real fucking quick.
Yeah.
And I think that just comes with capping out really quick. Like I think the only way you realize that you can't do it all alone is by going through the meltdown.
100%.
And be like, this is fucked.
100%.
Speaking of that meltdown, going back to the business side of things, probably a few years ago I bought all my business partners out and I just did it by myself. So I bought out the partner for Coastal Jam, bought out all my Uno partners, and I was just doing me. Because I'm like, I've worked with people this whole time. I want to see how far I can go. I got there pretty fast. It was like, we did a lot. I ran like 6 Coastal Jams, a 2,500 capacity festival, was running the club, working a bit in engineering, DJing, and like at the time maintaining a relationship and I was like, yeah, this is it. This is that point. Because when you start seeing, I think the time where you need to get help is when you start seeing the simple things be missed.
Yeah.
Like things that you would not normally miss, you miss because you're just not taking that extra, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Because you don't have that 30 seconds because you've got so many open loops in your head. So then once I hit that point, I was like, all right, I need to build a team now. I've successfully ticked off on my ego. Like, I can do this shit alone. I don't need anyone else, but I want others.
Yeah.
It flipped it.
Yeah.
And now, we've got a team of like 4 or 5 in the events world. We've got a great team of subcontractors. I can roll out an event now in the like level that I'm at. And I don't even roll into like midday. And then there's like a running joke that the team's like, fancy you being here. What? I'm like sleeping in.
But that's the dream.
It is a dream.
It's the dream, like literally.
But now it's like, all right, well, this is too easy. It's time to turn it up a notch.
Yeah.
So now we're just trying to do more uncomfortable things at bigger scale and go into state.
Because it's easy, I think, as well. And this is why I love like talking about discomfort and fear. Like getting to that place where that discomfort zone becomes a comfort zone. And sometimes we don't even realize because we're like, oh, everything is just really easy and it's seamless and it's like, I don't even need to do anything. But then it's like, yeah, but then you
put
kind
the
of
work in.
Yeah, that. But then when it starts to get really like stagnant, it's like now like does the growth stop? Like
it does.
Yeah, right? And someone asked me this question once on a podcast and they said, what do you think comes first, happiness or growth?
Are you asking me that question?
Yeah. And I feel like my answer though, it like really differed because I was like, oh, it's like I get happiness from growth.
That's what I was going to say.
Right? But then I was like, but do you always need to be growing to be happy?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the human condition is that without movement and something to look forward to, we begin to atrophy and die. And yeah, without doing things that make us a little bit uncomfortable, it's a weird balance where it's like, you got to be happy, you're gonna have to be unhappy. Because you're going to be uncomfortable doing something you don't really like, but you do like it.
Yeah.
But it kind of sucks. But during that whole like annoying process, you're feeling fulfilled, and then you get to the end of it and you're like, oh yeah, this is cool.
But that's it. It's the process. Like I think a lot of people I speak to, particularly like young people, they're just like, oh, like when I get there. I'm like, you're missing the whole fucking point.
It comes back into meditation as well.
Right?
You really understand that.
Yeah, it's not about the getting there. Like when you get there, you're going to be like, yeah, sick. And then it's going to be where you're running through the cornfields and you're like,
all right, now what?
Now what, right? And then the issue is people don't sit in that space and for long enough and go, fuck, look at all that I did.
Yeah.
They're just like, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
And they get to the next thing and it's like, sick, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
And it's just this constant like, yeah, cool, you're growing, but are you actually even present for like what you're going through and what you're learning? And it goes back to that whole fear thing where like, you know, you accumulate all these like tools and mechanisms where you're in situations and you go, I've been here before. Half of us aren't even present enough to be like, I've been here before. We just go, fuck, I'm done. Pomegranate. Like, out, I'm done. Right? And it's like, you're missing the whole fucking like point of like life. It's actually the process of getting to the places, not the place itself.
Yeah.
Or so I believe.
Yeah. I agree. And I also feel like at the same time, you kind of need the place there.
Yeah, 100%.
Without a direction, without a goal.
Yeah.
It's not a goal.
Yeah,
You
100%.
just kind of,
Yeah.
you're unlikely going to kind of make a difference with what you want. I don't know. I listened to this. I'm gonna probably butcher this, but I listened to this thing really recently that said maybe not. It's not just a journey. It's like once you get to a point, like you need. Actually, no. Scrap all that. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I'm gonna butcher it. I can't. It's like you know when it's just like like a little whisper in my like head.
Yeah, you wanna like.
And I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to put this together appropriately.
Yeah.
And I think I already answered it by being like the goal, without having the goal there. The destination is the point of the happiness.
Yeah.
But
And
it also isn't.
Yeah, and I think also the other element or layer to that is like sometimes the destination or the goal, it doesn't look like how we thought it was meant to look like in our heads. So when we sit down and go, this is what that idea or success is going to look like, but then without really realizing it, we ended up going left. We're still on the right path, but we walked through this other door and we're like, oh, I'm here. Like,
interesting.
Which was exactly what happened with Be More You.
Yeah.
Like literally. So when... I literally had this, realization the other week when I was sitting there and I was thinking about like all the stuff that we want to do for next year with Be More You. And when I had the YouTube channel, I had this like series that I was basically going to do. I'm not going to mention it. We're not launching it yet. So it's going to be a...
Stay tuned, guys.
Coming
in fall 2022.
But...
No, it'll be before then.
Okay.
Stop interrupting my story! But what I like realized was when this all kind of started happening, it was like happening in the background. It was background noise. And I was like, yeah, that's really cool. All right, awesome. Like Mia, Stefan, that's awesome. You guys do that. And then I was like, I'll help here and there. Thinking, I've got this thing. I've got to keep going over here.
Seed.
Like, yeah, right?
Unrelated seed.
Yeah. And I was like, no. I've got to keep going right. I've got this thing. This thing's going to like, it's the thing that I've been looking for this whole time. And this is like getting louder. This is like getting louder and louder and louder. And then eventually I was like, oh shit, I'm actually meant to be going left, not right. Cool. All right. I'll leave that there. Like, that's fine.
You always come back to it.
This is where it gets like interesting. So I'm like, cool, I'm going left now. And then we start doing all this stuff and I start panicking. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, what the fuck? And I even said to like you, I'm like, I'm all in, but I still feel like I'm looking over my shoulder for the door. And I'm like, I don't know what the door is. Like, it's just there and I can feel it and I keep like just looking over, but I'm all in. I've stopped my YouTube channel. I've stopped the podcast. Like, I'm fucking here. I'm doing this thing, but I still just feel like there's this other thing. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks ago, I was sitting down and I was just literally, my laptop dies, right? Never dies first thing in the morning. I'm like, that's weird. Battery was charged. Why'd it die? So I was like, all right, cool. I'm just going to have to start writing. So I close the laptop and I'm sitting there writing and I was listening just to music and this song comes on and I was just like, oh my God, this song. And then I was like scribbling on this paper and it was just literally scribbles. There was nothing to it. I was not drawing anything. And I'm listening to this song, literally like closing my eyes at King of the Castle. So like everybody looking in is seeing this chick with headphones in just like...
I love that.
And then I'm drawing and I look and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I literally scribbled on the paper and then there was like 2 lines going that way. And I was just looking at it and I was like, oh my God, this thing that I have been thinking I can only go left or right, the fucking thing joins.
Yeah.
It joins. And that as soon as I had that realization, in my head, it was like the door just disappeared.
It was really overwhelming the next day when she rocked up to us.
I was like, I got it!
And I was like this.
Literally. No, he goes, I'm really excited. I just don't know what to do right now. And I was like, it's fine. I get it. I'm a lot. But yeah, the whole point of that story was sometimes it's not what we think it's supposed to look like. It's something else, but the feeling is right. It's there. It's like, yeah, this is the thing. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Like, doing this thing with who I'm supposed to be doing it with. It's fucking right. I feel it. So, yeah.
And I feel like you got to remember that you are the culmination of all of your experiences to this point. Right? So you wouldn't be here in this position if not for all the other things that you've done in the past.
100%.
So you got to honor them and just roll with it, right? And you never know where it all comes back together.
Yeah.
And things, as I said, going back to the thing, unrelated, completely out of the blue, unrelated things, they all just start to like mold together.
Literally.
So, yeah. And you can always go back to it if Stefan pisses you off too much.
Well, this was the thing. I was like...
That's why I built it at my house.
So I'm trapped. But no, that was the issue for me, is I had that to fall back on. I was like, well, if this fucks up, I'll just keep doing what I was doing. That's fine. But then, like, completely going, nope, like, I'm here, I'm all in. Like, I got nothing. Like, I can't go back to that thing that was like, yeah, this is my thing.
Or you can rebuild again, but better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is like, you've got so many shots on goal, and it only takes one.
Yeah.
To change everything.
Yeah.
Is that Michael Jordan?
Maybe.
It's like, where the fuck did that come from? But you know what was really interesting? The whole start of this, because I don't know, that just so much has changed since we started this project in the very short amount of time since we started it. But it was funny, the weeks leading up to...
The leaks weeding.
The leaks weeding. The weeks leading up to that conversation, I was like... Because stepping back and watching it, we were both very individually going on the things that we needed to, but also completely fucking mushed into it together.
Yeah.
So intense. I was like, this thing's going to be something real different, and I can't fucking wait to see what it is. So when you fucking kicked the door down and were just like...
I'm here.
And I was like... I was like, oh, this is the thing. This all makes so much sense. No, we shouldn't keep talking about this because I'm just saying the thing that makes so much sense. Everyone's like, what are you talking about? We'll talk about it soon.
Yeah, we'll release it soon, what we're talking about. But yeah, it's just fun. Like, it is. For me, it's just everything leading up to now. I'm just like, oh, that's hindsight. That's why that fucking thing had to happen. That's why this person crossed paths with me. That's why... But you obviously don't see it when you're in it, because it's like, how the fuck is this thing right now that feels so traumatic and horrible? How the hell is this thing going to serve me in any capacity? But then it does. It does. Shift the mindset. Shift the mindset and the perspective. And there will be a way. And even if you don't fully understand it, that's where, like, meditation's really helped me. I never understand anything that's happening. I'm like, oh, this is just happening. It is what it is. Like, I just have to be here right now experiencing this thing, and one day it's going to make sense. And every fucking time I've said that to myself in my head, the day comes and I'm like, I fucking knew it. I knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt probably for the last, going back to our first question about 45 minutes ago with, like, what now?
Yeah.
So...
An hour and 14 minutes ago.
Oh, I love it. So what now? I don't know what now. I've got some loose ideas. I've got some vague pathways that I'm continuing to slowly chip away at. And I feel like I'm in, like, the eye of the storm. Like, I'm in the storm, but I know I'm not going the right way. I can kind of just feel it. Like, it feels right. I check to see if I check the compass every now and again. I do various things, and I'm like, nothing else is coming to me. All right, well, we'll keep going here until something changes. Nothing changes. So it's like, just got to keep rolling with it. Especially with the events world. we're in like a pretty hectic recession, realistically. Like, the industry's cooked. But the good thing about like winter and the dark times is it shakes out the weak players.
Yeah.
The ones that are left are the really strong and passionate, like, operators. And then, you know, everything has its cycles, right? And there's always going to be another uptime. So I've kind of gone back to the fundamentals of it all, thinking, is this what I want to do? Like, is this what I'm here to do? And I feel like at this point in my life, I'm probably one of the best people to do this job. Like, I've got, I naturally, I've intersected my like passion and like love intersects all the appropriate skill sets to do this well. Like project management, I've done an engineering degree. I know systems. Like marketing, I'm obsessed with psychology. Music, was always that kid, like, we'd be out at parties and I'd be like 15, 16, or we'd be walking with all the guys like late at night down the streets, and I'd just be at the back listening to music. I've always done that. So that intersection of those things, and then business, I've been obsessed with business since I was like 18. I went to my grandpa, who was like, he was an Italian immigrant and came to Australia with nothing, and then retired by like 35. Just hustled. And I'm like, how do I make money? and he used his thick Italian accent, didn't tell me shit. but my uncle gave me a book called, I think it was The Richest Man in Babylon. He's like, read this.
That's a good book.
Started there and didn't continue on until I was like 23, 24. But like, I started at that point. But so from that early stage, like, instead of doing work, I'd be reading Business Insider articles about, you know, the top 10 things CEOs do in their day. Like, random shit. Like, I've enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So you add all those pieces together, and then I feel like my innate gift has always been since day one, I can talk to a fucking brick wall. So like, you know, I was that kid. You know how these little kids will just come up to you when you're having dinner and they just have no filter. They don't care. They'll just like hang out and they'll chat to you, like take food off your plate, and you love it. Like, I was one of those kids. I would like leave, you know, the restaurant or the table I'm at with mum and rock up and just start talking to people at tables. And I'm like 2-3 years old. So you add all those together, and it seems like the industry that I've fallen into, I didn't want to or plan to do any of this. I've fallen into and then been successful at to date. It seems right.
Yeah.
But that's a very scary place to be in such a chaotic time. And again, we go back to the meditations and the ability to sit and observe and see the chaos as a separate entity from the chaos.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm working on. So this last 2 years has been like, all right, cool, I'll take a 3-month holiday. That was great. We'll be back in August 2020. You know what I mean? And that's extended, and we've gone through, but like, overall it's been a trajectory up, and the person I am now is completely different to the person I was in March 2020. Yeah. And that person, the foundation is being set to be able to not be afraid, to do the uncomfortable, to push yourself into, you know, projects now that are going to cost $1 million to put on. Like, this is the level, like, I'm getting my head right to level up.
Yeah.
And you can't level up unless you think you can level up.
Yep.
Is that your own quote?
That was my own quote.
That was really good. I'm really... It's going to be the little caption. Make a note.
Adam METWALLY. Oh,
Battery
No, it's
that's so funny.
It's so interesting though, because the last 2 years I listened to this Paul Check podcast, and he did 2020 from a perspective of numerology, and I'm going to completely fuck this whole thing up. But the basic thought pattern of it was, you essentially are either going to level up and move through all the shit you've never wanted to move through, or you're going to be crippled by what's happening and you're going to stay exactly where you are and move backwards. He's like, it's one or the other. Nobody's fucking standing in the middle.
I think that's the reality anytime there's a traumatic scenario. You've got two options. And most people pick the shrivel up and blame and become reactive.
Yeah.
So I can see that completely. So how do you notice you're only like when shit hits the fan is when you have to make a decision. Until then you can flounder about, you can do whatever you want, you can like, it's all good, but like at some point you end up being forced into making a decision, and then that's when you've got the choice. So then I wonder how you can put yourself in a headspace to realize you're in that, the patterns again of like, all right, I have experienced this before. I've got, this is shit. What are my choices? Lean into it, or like pull away and not grow. Like, I feel like the thing that's given me solace over the really, really hard times, like it's been fucking hard work from about like 2018 onwards. It's just been one thing after another, after another, after another. Like I had a really good run for a while, but like objectively there's been heaps of successes, but internally there's been just like constant, like I've been I feel like all I've been doing is pushing through like shit. And the main solace I've got is that, where do I go with this? Sorry, I lost it for a second. The main solace I've got is that, nah, it's gone. Fuck.
I'm so into that. He's gonna drop a bomb.
I had a bomb and I just whisked it out. Oh man, hold on. Let me go back. So, no, it's fully gone. I had it. I'm like, this is great.
From 2018, it's been really tough.
Yeah,
from 2018, yourself over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so from 2018, it's been really, really tough. And I look at the situations now and I'm like, fuck, objectively, this is shit. And like, there's no two ways about it. This is not a good time. So what are my options? My options are wallow in pity. I mean, I can do that for a little bit, but after a while, it just doesn't really get you anywhere. Or I can go, all right, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to my advantage? How can I use every single scenario that I've got to my advantage? And I've been using that framework every single time I come up to something shit. It's like, oh, just got dumped. Cool. It'll give me 2 weeks to just like cry and journal. I mean, if I was having a great time, I wouldn't do any of this. You know what I mean?
But that's it. And I think if you go through enough shit situations in life or in a small period of time, and you're aware that like sitting in shit only means more shit. Like literally though, like that's how I look at situations now. Like everything is neutral. Every fucking situation is neutral. It's how you want to identify the situation and how you want to, what you want to attach to it. It could be a really shitty thing like that's happening. Yeah, sweet. Sit in that for a little bit, but don't get stuck there because you're just going to be sitting in shit. Whereas if you try, just find one little thing, like one tiny thing, even if it's just telling yourself that this is going to serve the future version of myself, I just need to be patient. Sit with that for a bit. You'll probably end up feeling better. You will end up feeling better sitting with that than this is fucking shit. This is shit. This is shit. This is shit. It's like,
well, it was me. Like, world, fix it.
Yeah,
you
right?
kind of have to fix yourself.
But then again, you know, I think when you're not mindful and aware of those things, that again becomes a comfort zone. Suffering is just this loop of comfort because you know the outcome. The outcome is shit. How many times do I want to say shit? One more time? Shit. It's shit. Like, it's absolute shit. And it's easier to sit there because, you look outwards. You never look inwards and go, well, where do I play the problem? Where's my mentality and my mindset, like, failing me right now? Because it's not your fault that this is happening to me. It might not even be my fault that it's happening to me, but I'm the person who has to take responsibility for how I'm going to project out into the world and what I'm going to do to move forward. I can sit here, that's cool, But like, and I think having those that what I just said is the conversations that happen in my head, literally. And I think if we got better at speaking to ourselves in our own heads and just being like our own best friend, like that is your biggest commitment in life. It's the relationship that you have with yourself. And if it's a really fucking shitty relationship, what hope do you have with anybody else?
Yeah,
Yeah, you don't.
You cannot love anybody at 100% without loving yourself at 100%. You are
it's called codependence.
100%. No, it is, yeah. Like, it's just one of those things where I'm like, you gotta do the work on yourself. And again, like, mindfulness, it's all, you know, find your thing. It keeps
coming back to the same. I don't think it's, to work through a lot of this shit, I don't think it's hard. No, okay, it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
Like it's not, there's not that much to it. And that's as I keep digging into it, you come back to the same things constantly. Like, move your body, be positive, like not even positive. Positivity is like great, but also it can become ridiculous at times. But like, just be grateful. You can deal with really tough situations when you come at it from a strong foundation of gratitude and like,
acceptance and forgiveness is like they're the biggest ones.
It's like, and then it's like tools. How do you cultivate those situations? Like, how do you cultivate that space inside of you? You use tools. So it's like meditation's a tool, journaling's a tool, exercising is a tool, maybe yoga's a tool, reading things that reading things that expand your mind is another tool. You know, talking to a psychologist or like your loved ones or even to yourself, like. All these, they're very simple tools. But people don't do them very often. Like, they rarely do them. And this...
Because I think also the other thing to that is they're so simple, but they're all practices that are required to be done every single day.
Yeah. That's where I was going next. So the biggest thing that I'm trying to live my life with, like, I'm developing kind of like frameworks. You know, that engineer in me just like keeps coming out. So one of the biggest things that I've understood now is compound interest. Do you guys know much?
You've told me this,
dude. Yeah. So compound. This is the one. He's like,
teach me.
Okay. So compound interest is like the most powerful force in Earth. Like, have you ever seen those graphs where it's like you've got like the y-axis and the x-axis and it goes like this and nothing's happening and then it just goes kind of like the it who shall not be named kind of the way that progressed in
he means COVID.
Yeah, I don't know if we're allowed. Anyway, using that, everyone knows that. Everyone's seen that graph now and we all know that is compounding to a T. Like,
I actually thought you meant Voldemort for a second then. I was like, are we talking about Harry Potter?
we are. So, when you understand that, the next step from understanding that is you can apply that concept to every single aspect of your life. Everything you do can be done, like, can be improved on a crazy amount through compounding. So, using an example, health. Have you ever gone to the gym once and gone, I don't look any different? But you do that, like, you could go to the gym for 8 hours one day.
Yes.
It makes no difference.
No.
If you go there half an hour a day for 6 months, you become you look in the mirror and you're different.
Well, I really like where this is going because it's
compounding.
what I've been thinking lately.
We'll go back to the graph. So let's just use health outcome.
Jamie, can you put it up?
On the y-axis.
We need a little whiteboard.
Yeah, we did. Health axis on the y and time on the x-axis. Most people that don't understand this, they go, even with podcasts and stuff, like using the podcast for example, you guys are going to have no viewers for fucking ages. And then something's going to happen and you probably won't know why. And then it'll change. And then the amount of input that you put in will be disproportionate to the amount of output, the outcome that you get. And that's compounding. So, you know, you're going to the gym for like 3 months, 6 months. You're not really seeing much. And you're like, this is shit, this is shit, this is shit. And you're like, no, I'm done. You stop. But you've gone that far. Yeah. from here to here, you're going to go from here to here.
Yes.
And you've only gone from here to here. Because things take time. We're complex. The world is complex. We are complex. After a while, you'll look back and you go, holy shit, like I am a different person. Mentally, I'm a different person physically. And it's because you've let the snowball develop. You've let it roll down the hill and get bigger and bigger and bigger and faster till it can't be stopped.
The simple equation, literally, to all of this is consistency plus simplicity equals longevity. It's a long game. That's my thing. It's all I fucking harp on about. It's literally the only teaching I say to people is like, you want to do something, keep it simple, keep it consistent, and keep like the longevity just follows. You don't even need to do anything. Like I'll use literally eating and not dieting, but like start of the year, doing my whole health journey and completely shifting my mindset on like the way I look, the way I feel. The only thing I said to myself was do this fucking thing for 12 weeks consistently. And I've carried it through. It's been like 9 months now of doing the exact same thing. It's just seamless. It's effortless. Like I don't even need to think twice about what I eat. I don't need to think twice about the gym. I wake up every single morning at 4 o'clock and I'm in the gym by 4:30 and everyone goes, how the fuck do you do that? I know my why.
Yeah.
I know my why. I know
What is
why.
your why?
My why for the longevity piece is I want to be 70 years old and I want to be climbing mountains. I can't do that if I fuck up my health in my 20s and don't take care of myself. I need to be looking at that long-term plan of if you just make it as simple as possible so you don't have to think about what you're going to have for breakfast, lunch and dinner. You don't have to think about like your work because it's become a part of you. Like it's just, and obviously you've got to push yourself and all that, blah, blah, blah. But that fucking lesson came to me through doing a fucking YouTube channel for a whole year and showing up every single Sunday for 52 weeks.
Yeah.
Regardless of what was going on in my life, it was the one promise because I knew how important that promise was to myself that I was like, I have betrayed myself so fucking much up until this point in every area of my life. Every single area. This is my one thing. My one thing that is like sacred to me. I don't want to fuck this up and I'm not going to. So if you're going to do this, literally again, the conversation I'm having with myself, I'm like, Mon, if you want to do this, it's every single week. It's every single Sunday at 9 o'clock. Sometimes it was 8 o'clock, but whatever. Every single Sunday you show up. And I did it. And after I did it, I was like, oh my God, I did that one thing that I said I wanted to do. And then it was just this thing where I was like, confidence it's a muscle. Not everybody is born with confidence. No. Confidence is built. Confidence is a habit.
Yeah.
It's a habit that you have to implement and work on every single day. It doesn't just fucking happen. You can't expect decades of conditioning, cultural, social, whatever, conditioning to be erased in 3 days because you decided you're going to meditate for 3 days and write in a journal. No.
But if you meditate for a year,
yes,
you're a different person.
Right?
Absolutely.
Even if you do it for 5 minutes a day.
Exactly. So it was that consistency piece for me. And that drinking 3 liters of water every single day was like the seed that got planted in 3 years ago, I think, or 4 years ago, where I was like, I just got to do something that's really easy. That's really, you don't have to think twice. You do have to think about it because at that point I wasn't drinking enough water. So for me, I was like, I've got to do something that's simple enough.
Oh, it's over there. Let's swap. Sorry, continue.
That's simple enough that I know I can't really fuck up. Like, I'm not setting myself this impossible goal to start off with because my confidence was shot. I was literally in the pits. I was like, I can't decide now I'm going to go lose 12 kilos in 12 weeks.
But you can lose 100 grams.
Yeah, right? I was like, just keep it simple, but keep it consistent. And after I did that, it's like that unlocked the door for the next thing. I was like, cool, I did that. What am I going to do next? Then I started going to the gym every day for 28 days. I did that. I'm like, cool, how do I test myself some more? I'm going to go to Thailand and I'm going to train Muay Thai. Cool, what next? I'm going to go to Nepal. What next? I'm going to go to fucking Dubai for, whatever. I'm going to do all these things. And it just started building. And it's a snowball effect.
And it all started from drinking water.
That's all it was. It was keeping the promise to myself. And then going, my word is Bible. If I say I'm going to go do something, am I going to go do it?
Yeah.
But you probably weren't always like that.
No, I was not at all. And that also started playing into, when you don't want to go somewhere, right? And you're like, your friends message you going, hey, let's go do this. And you really don't want to go. How many times do we make up an excuse? Why don't you just say no? Like, I never used to do that. I used to always make up an excuse. And it literally all stemmed from childhood, because when I was a young kid, the first point of call, everything had to be for everybody else. I stopped trusting my own word and my intuition, because I was like, I'm never right. I'm not right. These people that know better, that I love and respect, that are supposed to be teaching me how to like survive in the world, they know what's up. I gotta just listen to them. So the example I always use for people is, when you're a kid, or for me, being Croatian, like when I was a kid, a lot of adults made me really uncomfortable. For whatever reason. They never did anything, but it was just like, I would get really awkward around certain people, but it was like, you're going to go and you're going to say hi out of respect. Go and give that person a hug. Go and give that person a kiss.
Yeah.
Don't be that kid. And I would be like, I don't want, like, they make me feel, ugh.
Yeah.
But I'd go and do it.
Yeah.
And then I'd keep doing it, and I'd keep doing it. And then it's like all these other things started slipping. It was like, I'm letting all these people into my life now that I don't want there. I'm letting all this shit started happening. And it was like, how many fucking times have you actually gone back on your word to make somebody else happy?
Yeah.
Like, where do you draw the line with that? Yeah, that was a really long-winded story.
No, it's fine.
That was great.
Fully hijacked yours.
It was compounded.
But that analogy is really, really good to put it like visually, and obviously speaking about it, but that's the equation. It's literally find something, keep it fucking simple, do it over and over again, and then watch that compound interest skyrocket.
Yeah, I really like the way you described that.
Dude, it's a game changer. And you like the way I learned about it was Richest Man in Babylon, actually, that book. So I learned it through finance. So like the scenario was like pay yourself first. So the first concept that I ever learned about money was flip it from you earn this much, you spend, and you keep what's left. That's the trap. And that's the trap that majority of people are in. I read that book and I asked my uncle about it, and I kind of got the vibe, and it's just like, you flip that. You earn, you pay yourself, and then you spend the rest. And through that, just that one simple thing, done over a long period of time, completely changes. Well, for me, you know, I learned that at 18, and then it completely changed my like financial outcome, like to the point where like I'm pretty good now. Like I can sit back because I've done those little things over that long period of time. Like I bought my house. I, you know, have like a fallback so that I can sit here in this like chaotic environment and go, I'm not going to starve.
Yes.
I can sit in this. I can wait it out. I can make better long-term decisions because I've done that work over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And that all started from a little bit. It was funny, like it, you know, I wrote down a bunch of these like goals that I had, you know, when I first started doing it, and it was like save $5,000 and invested in the stock market. And look, the whole next piece of it, I completely stuffed it up, but like the first bit was great. And that's better than nothing. And it's like been super helpful. If I'd optimized it in ways that I know now, like it would have been another whole story again, but that's a whole another thing, and that's okay. Because you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. But I go, you know, I save $1,000, and I'm like, wow, I've never had $1,000 before. I save $5,000. I go to my dad, what do I do with the $5,000? And he's like, spend it, we're in a recession. And I'm like, doesn't sound right. And I'm like, I remember vividly, and I'm like, that's not what I expected you to say to me. He's like, $5,000's nothing. Actually, the core part of it was, he says to me, $5,000 is nothing. Spend it because the economy's fucked. It was like 2008, like the economy's fucked, and we need to be stimulating the economy right now. And I go, nah, I'm not doing that. If I'd listened to that and like those external things and going against my gut from a person who's like supposed to know, give you the right advice, like that's not the advice I would give my kids. But that's okay. That's a different thing again. If I'd gone and spent that then, I would never have got to the point where by the time I finished uni, I had $100,000 in the bank and I bought a house. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because from little things, done over a long period of time become big things.
Yes.
It's the same compounding concept again. I did not lose my life enjoyment by putting a little bit away every week. No, I travelled, I ate out, I still bought clothes, like I saw friends. I mean, I may have hacked it a little bit by getting paid to go to a nightclub and getting free drinks. That's a whole other thing. It's the same concept. So health, finances, relationships. You turn around and you talk to someone and you go, I want to marry you, you're amazing. And they're like, who the fuck are you? Get out of my lounge room. It's not going to work. However, if you start small, you say hi. You know, you have a coffee. I don't know. You go for a walk. You go on a date. That little incremental thing over a long period of time. The moment you put too much pressure on it, it breaks a lot of the time.
Yep.
And the best relationships come from consistent effort over a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 3 parts. What else have we got?
Business. Wow. Holy, was that yours as well, or did you find that from a book?
I don't know. No.
That was really good.
I just gone off the cuff. So what else is
Health,
there?
finance, relationship, business.
I spent the first, I've been running events for bloody years. Like, started my first event at 20. It's only now, 7-8 years in, that I have, it's as though the floodgates are opening.
Yeah.
And it took years. It took years and it took consistent effort, showing up every day. Showing up and just knowing that you're going to put the customer first. You're going to you're going to do your best to not be, you're going to add value where you can. You're going to do everything you can to make this the best possible outcome. And sure, you'll get shit wrong sometimes, but you just keep pushing forward. And now it's starting to get to the point where it's all these people that have known me for a number of years are going, all right, you haven't fizzled out yet. All right, we'll fucking take you seriously then. All right, come, let's have meetings. Let's work together. And it took years. It took 8 years. So going to the next part with you, music.
Yes.
Music. And this is where that book comes in, the War of Art. Resistance stops your ability to create your consistency. If you don't stay consistent, you don't get your compounding effect. You don't get to create the life that you want or achieve the goal that you want. So along the way, you're going to have resistance to every element. And most of that resistance is just noise that your mind is creating to stop you from doing something that it seems like it wants to conserve as much energy as it can. It doesn't want to go and do anything. It doesn't want to go out of its way because it might get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. But oh shit. You know what I mean? That's where we're at. That's where our brains are at. So, and this, it all ties into the ice bath thing, and then it all ties into the meditation. It's just a little ecosystem of things you do. Again, consistently. You get where I'm going with this? Yes. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and it's blown my mind. And this is where, again, being good to everybody.
Yeah.
Every chance you can consistently improves the outcomes. It snowballs. You end up creating a world that you would never dream of, because the world is a complex place and people are complex and things don't happen in the timelines that anyone expects. But if you are consistent enough with enough shots on goal, eventually one of them hits, and you only need one for everything to change. Pomegranate.
Well, I was just going to say, can we just end it there? Because that was fucking... Holy shit!
I just swallowed my tongue and my heart and my whole life just flashed before my eyes. I was like, I don't know how much I need to hear that.
Anxiety Stefan's just
oh my god.
So we're gonna end the podcast there because that was absolutely phenomenal. Honestly, seriously, you are actually an incredible fucking human being, and full credit to you. This has been amazing. I knew it was always going to be amazing, but dude, seriously, I don't have words. I'm like that.
No, I don't either. I spent probably 3/4 of that podcast just sitting here my jaw fucking open. No, but seriously, because you've everything that you're saying is tried and tested, and you're not here to fuck around with yourself first, which just comes across with it. I'm gonna stop talking. That was fucking great. No, seriously, I just have so much love and respect for you. Thank you.
Oh, you're doing amazing things. You really are. And like whatever is next for you, whether you know what it is or not, like I'm just fucking excited to see what unfolds, because no doubt in my mind it's going to be incredible. And
maybe. I don't know.
Humble again.
Maybe not.
But it's all.
But we'll just have fun.
Yeah, exactly right. That's it.
And that's a wrap, guys. Thank you. For the METWALLY podcast.
See you back here next week for his podcast.